Everybody, thank you so much for being here. I am sorry for our glitches earlier today, and I am so confident and optimistic that our tech is all going to work just fine. We're here this evening to talk a little bit about the state of development, of progress, of evolution in LevAI. We're going to talk a little bit about what the specific things are that I am doing that are resulting in new enrollments. The number one task of any organization such as ours is in growing a membership base. In fact, it is in growing, in our case, a subscription base. And so let's talk for just a couple of moments about what the targets are that we want to hit. And I will be brief in my discussion of things in the past, because the past only matters from this standpoint. We can't live in it, but we can learn from it. And as we learn from it, we can, I think, at least I can see some of the values here that may not be immediately evident to someone who has not had some of my past life's experiences. So as we all know, many, many years ago, I got involved in the micro enterprise business, the home-based business, network marketing. And I remember I went to the first presentation, and the gentleman who was speaking kept talking about what it is, what it is, what it is. I could never quite understand what the targets were. He was talking about a product, he was talking about skincare, he was talking about things that made no sense to me. And finally I arrived at my own description of what it is that we do. So what do? We engage in what I've long described as a proved and predictable pattern of activities. Now with that in mind, I'm recognizing that most of you probably cannot see my screen here. Maybe you can. It's a tiny little screen that I bought for this conversation. But on my screen, I have clicked my own avatar. So here we see my avatar. Now earlier today, this avatar, the Randy clone, was in all of your back offices because I was not satisfied, not happy with the functionality quite yet. I asked that Blake remove the avatar such that a few corrections could be made over the course of the next day or two. I want your every experience to be a fantastic experience. But now let's contemplate for a moment, what exactly is it? It says failed to load items, what I'm looking for. If we click on this avatar, what are the things that I would have you learn? I've described the fact that there is a proved and predictable pattern of activities. I'm not sure if you can see this and read it. It says the 10 steps to getting started correctly. How would you find that? You would find that by going to your home screen. When you go to your home screen at LevAI, there you will see a picture of the woman who is the chat AI. That, of course, is a digital avatar. We have no idea of knowing if that's an actual real person or not. And over to the next one over, it says LevAI Leadership. You will all very shortly get a prompt asking if you would like to be involved in the LevAI Leadership group. In opting into that, there's no cost whatsoever associated with it. It is simply making you eligible to receive more of my content specifically, and other leaders who will be invited to participate. And then you see over the right of it, there is the Randy avatar. Now, when we click on onboarding, if you click on onboarding, what I see here are the 10 steps to getting started correctly. Because it's my content, it says edit. So the only way that I can illustrate it for you is to click on edit. When you click on that same thing, you will not have to click on edit, you will click on view. And when you click on view, here is a description of the 10 steps to getting started correctly. You'll be able to read those steps, but also my avatar will teach you those steps. So multiple people have asked me if they can load my content into their avatar. The answer is yes. In some cases, I mean, you're welcome to it. In some cases, it would seem a little incongruent because it is me telling my life experience, my story, you delivering that as though it were your experience would not really fly too well. And so the parts of the content that are process specific but not my experience specific, all of that content I want you to load into your avatar. The parts that are more personal experiences of my own, I would have you replace that with your own experiences, which might provoke the same kinds of actions among yourself and among other people. But nevertheless, here it describes those 10 steps. And so earlier today, you could actually have clicked on my avatar and had me teach you those 10 steps because I was dissatisfied with it. I asked Blake to pull it down and it will be reintroduced, probably not tomorrow, maybe Tuesday or Wednesday. And you'll begin seeing an enormous amount of content being loaded specifically into my avatar because it is born of my life's experiences. When you click on announcements, there you'll find that as today, we had a bit of a glitch and that glitch was that my technology didn't work. We rescheduled it until this evening. Right now you'll see the broadcast content. I did not update it today. This morning, the announcement went out that I will conduct a leadership mentoring session at 11 a.m. Eastern Time. Now, in order for you to have received that message, you would need to have been a part of that, what I described as the AI leadership group. Here it says courses. What is that all about? My life experience is what is reflected in a leadership boot camp that it's entitled More Happy More of the Time, Lessons in Life and Leadership. There is more than 150 hours of content loaded into these courses, all of which is immediately available to you, all at zero cost. It literally is as though, when I've talked about having a right seat pilot, a co-pilot, an air route traffic controller beside you every step of the way telling you what to do next, that is what you will have available to you specifically in my digital clone. And you can, of course, add whatever content you'd like to your own digital clone. Those things are now getting very, very, very close. In fact, this morning, I would have illustrated it for you had everything not gone wrong. It's okay. You will all be able to begin using that in just the next day or two. So, the reason I point those things out, the reason I'm even chatting right now about things that are not yet fully actionable, is I want you to know this company is making tremendous strides. I mean tremendous strides. The things that we're able to do with this technology today that we couldn't do a week ago are, to me, shocking. I believe that another week from now, the things that we'll be able to do will be shocking in comparison to what we can do today. The rate of progress and the sophistication of that progress is, in my estimation at least, literally earth-shaking. It is shocking. So now, I'm going to do a combination of high-tech, low-tech, me on a whiteboard, because frankly that's what I've always done, but also bringing the current reality of high-tech into this conversation. I've indicated that there is a process, a proved and predictable pattern of activities. Starting tomorrow or the day after tomorrow, there will be no reason ever for one person to get involved in LevAI and not know what to do the first day, the second day, the third day, and the fourth. Because all of that content is already loaded into my digital clone. It will be available for you at it will be available for you at the touch of a finger anytime you want it, starting, I'm guessing, on Wednesday. Once again, because I was dissatisfied with some of it wasn't the content I was dissatisfied with, but the flow. There were some things about it that weren't what I want you to experience. I want it to be that every single time you interact with LevAI, you say, wow, that was cool. I didn't expect that. This is better than I was hoping for. And so that's why I asked Blake to pull it down and put it back up Tuesday or Wednesday, I'm hoping. But what exactly is it that we do? We engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities that is identified by those 10 steps to getting started that I illustrated for you a moment ago. Then that proved and predictable pattern of activities has a daily mechanism of operation called the ladder of escalation, which teaches you specifically and exactly to do with each candidate from the moment of first introduction to the moment of them becoming a global leader, if that is their goal and objective. I want you to know with complete clarity that there is no luck and there is no guesswork, and I now realize that we're live streaming, so I don't have to record. I thought, gosh, I need to record this. We don't have to, because it's being live streamed. So we engage in this proved and predictable pattern of activities. Just as you know exactly what you have to do to back your car out of your garage, out of your driveway, onto the street, and down to the shopping center and back home. There's a pattern of activities that you've long since learned. It's become automatic to you. You don't have to think about it. That is how this 10 steps is for me. It is automatic. I don't have to think about it. It seems to be deeply embedded into my very DNA. And then that mechanism of operation, the ladder of escalation, also absolutely intuitive and automatic for me. But that's because I've been doing it for 35 years. And so if it's not intuitive and automatic for you, this particular feature of LevAI will be very much like a warm blanket that you can just wrap around you that makes everything feel comfortable instead of feeling uncomfortable. And when you act upon that pattern of activities, what will result? It's the creation of an ever-expanding and potentially limitless web. Limitless web of what? Throughout my career, it's been an ever-expanding and potentially limitless web of consumers of a physical, tangible product. For a season of my career, a weight loss product. For a season of my career, a decade long, a cholesterol reduction product. For a season of my career, a superfruit, the acai berry. For a season of my career, the end of the prohibition of cannabis and the introduction of cannabidiol. And so in each of those instances, with a tremendous team of leadership, and that is what we will now do, we will assemble a tremendous team of leadership, some who've had past experiences and some who do not. Any proper leadership structure will be a combination of both, the newcomer, new ideas, fresh thought, fresh energy, associated with those who have long lived in this world. The combination thereof creates a leadership structure that is beneficial to all. We engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities, which results in the creation of what? Of a subscription base. That is where this changes. That's where this is different from anything that I've done before, or over the vast majority of my career. You see, up until right now, I've engaged in this pattern of activities, which has resulted in the creation of consumption of a consumer good, a nutritional supplement. And now here is a bit of truth. Over the course of my entire career up until today, that pattern of activities has resulted in the creation of consumption of a product that has always been priced to meet the need of the compensation plan, not to meet the need of the person consuming the product. The direct selling industry has for the last 3.5 decades primarily sold products to each other, sold products to itself. I've described it as an ever-expanding, potentially infinite web of internal consumers, people who are inside the industry. Why? Because people who are outside the industry will not pay up. They won't pay extra for a product because it has a compensation plan associated with it. And so now we reach this transition point. Certainly it's a transition point for me, a transition point for many of you. I'm no longer happy with the idea of being limited to this 3 or 4 or 5% of planet Earth who are willing to overpay for a product because there's a compensation plan associated with it. And I'm no longer interested in any mechanism that would have an inevitable and almost known in advance reality that there could only be a short run. Only a short run. Why, Randy? Well, because if a product's really good, it will be copied, won't it? If a product's really good, it will be copied. If it's really, really good, it'll be copied quite a few times. And when it's copied, the price points will go down. And when the price points go down, it will no longer justify that exorbitant price or that higher price to fund the compensation plan. And that is why, even my career, one of the best in the industry, I've had 4 separate chapters over a 35-year career. Why? Because 5, 6, 7, 8 years in, people are no longer willing to pay that price for the product because now you can buy something like it for less money someplace else. So now we find this dramatic difference. We engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities. It is changing a little bit for a few reasons we'll talk about. I will not do the exact same things over the course of the next 5 years that I did for the last 5 years because some things have changed. Change is sometimes good, sometimes change is neutral, and sometimes change is not good, depending on the person experiencing the change. But change always requires that we adapt, right, wrong, or indifferent. Much of the change that is occurring in this business model is without question dramatically superior to anything that I've done before. It is logical, isn't it? It makes more sense to deliver a product that cannot be bought elsewhere for less money. Well, welcome to LevAI, that's what we do. But it goes beyond that. Each of you right now, I want you to stop and ask yourself this question. When did you last change your cell phone provider? If you're using AT&T today, when did you start using AT&T? If you're using Verizon today, when did you start using Verizon? If you're using T-Mobile today, when did you start using T-Mobile? Isn't it true for almost all of you? In fact, today, I met with a group of people, and I didn't have one person who had changed their cell phone provider in the last 5 years. And there was 2 people there who had had the same cell phone provider for greater than 25 years. And so that illustrates the power of incumbency. How does T-Mobile attempt to take a customer away from Verizon or AT&T? Well, they do it by offering a free device. That's what they do. Change your service and we'll give you the latest iPhone. Change your service and we'll give you the latest Samsung. Whatever it is. How does AT&T take a customer away from Verizon? Change your service and we'll give you this next device. And so we have to take that out of the equation here because we're operating in a service where there is no device, where a new provider of an AI service could lure a customer away by giving them some device. That doesn't exist here. And so now let's look at it another way. Do you subscribe to Netflix? Most of you do. And how long have you subscribed to Netflix? When Hulu came out and other video streaming services, did you stop subscribing to Netflix? A few did, but most did not. So you see, now what we do is we engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities which is designed to create an ever-expanding and potentially limitless web of what? Subscribers. People who subscribe to a service that they cannot beat someplace else. They subscribe to a service. If you register and you become a subscriber to LevAI, you cannot buy what LevAI sells for less money someplace else. In fact, you cannot buy the market basket of services that LevAI offers anyplace else, all in a combination, all with a catalyst that brings them all together, a compensation plan. You can't find that, period, anyplace, no matter what you're willing to spend. And so now we engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities that will have the outcome of producing an ever-expanding and potentially limitless web of subscribers, and to the extent that we do our job right for the next 3, 4, 5 years. You see, right now, we do have, at this second in time, we do have first mover advantage. Today, 4, 5, 6% of planet Earth is utilizing AI. 4 years from now, 75, 85, or 90% of planet Earth will be using AI. Those who gain the subscriber base during the period of development will have established a very, 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 very long future cash flow. Why? Because the current subscription has the power of incumbency. Have you noticed it's a whole lot easier for a person to retain a political office than it is for them to unseat an incumbent? That's why there are term limits. But there are no term limits. And for how many years can you use AT&T before you must change and go to Verizon? And then how many years later must you change to give a competitor a fair chance? You see, there are no term limits in business. There are only term limits in politics. And so what is our task? Our task is to clearly articulate. Clearly. No confusion, no ambiguity. It is to clearly articulate what are our uniquenesses in the market. It is to articulate the importance of not just our uniquenesses, but our pricing advantages, and therefore to establish a subscriber base in this, the earliest days of the global adoption of AI, recognizing that once the subscription base is in place, that has a completely different possibility to produce long-term income than any smart ship or auto ship for an individual consumer product could. And that's one of the many reasons, but one of the biggest reasons that I tell people this is not a continuation or an extension of my career. Up until now, I have always delivered a product that you could find something like that product elsewhere for less money. Always. My whole career up until now. They've always been good products. We could always justify the price in a variety of ways. But in the back of our minds, we always knew that if you stripped the compensation plan away, that product could be delivered for less money. That's just not true here. It is simply not true. You cannot acquire what this company offers for less money anywhere. That is the truth. And I don't believe you could acquire what this company offers anywhere if you're willing to pay 3, 4, or 5 times greater amounts. Therefore, as we see this tremendous groundswell of movement towards AI, and how tremendous is it? Well, yesterday, 178,000 people used artificial intelligence for the very first time. Yesterday. Today, 178,000 more people use artificial intelligence for the very first time. Tomorrow, 178,000 more people will use artificial intelligence for the very first time. That will continue, and in fact, it will grow, it will accelerate, reaching a crescendo some 2.5 or 3 years from now, based on all the prognostications that I've seen from knowledgeable and correct critical thinkers. It will continue until more than 5 billion people on planet Earth have embraced AI, whether on purpose, by accident, or because they're required to in their job place or to retain competitiveness in their business. And the subscriber base that is put in place during that period where 178,000 new people are coming. See, we don't have to take the subscriber from somebody else. They don't belong anywhere else right now. There are 178,000 newcomers today, 178,000 newcomers tomorrow, 178,000 newcomers the next day. These are people who have chosen to use AI, and we don't need to unseat an incumbent. We get to create the subscriber base today when we're gathering up from the newcomer to AI, not trying to extract them from another. Breaking the bonds of incumbency is hard. That is why we must all understand the incredible power and magnitude of this moment. So we engage in a proved and predictable pattern of activities identified by the 10 steps to getting started. You can learn all about those by reviewing the content on the onboarding sequence, which will be in your back office the second Blake turns my avatar back on. We have a daily mechanism of operation called the ladder of escalation. The ladder of escalation, combined with the 10 steps to getting started correctly, combined with all that LevAI is, I believe will create the largest subscriber base of any AI company. We have the advantage right now. We have the opportunity to create the largest subscriber base. And so what does that mean? Well, if we look at cell phone service, who is the big one? Who is the big one? If you follow financial news, you know that it's AT&T. AT&T's number one by really a long ways. Who's number two? Well, Verizon's number two. And they're number two by a long ways. And then comes number three, and that's T-Mobile. And then after that, it just goes to a whole bunch of things that are relatively insignificant. Folks, this is our moment. This is our moment to create the AT&T-esque subscriber base. There is no one playing in our same field right now. There is no one that we have to beat out of the client or the customer. We have the opportunity to become the first home for all of the new early adopters. That's why it is so important that leveraging AI is what? Artificial intelligence in an accessible way for everybody, not just for the few, but for everybody. I met earlier today with a gentleman. One of the things that I find so intriguing and fascinating about this whole process is that there is literally no age or gender or lifestyle barriers. You know, throughout my career, I've always had a product or a service that would appeal to a certain segment of society. I was involved first with a company that's called skincare products, and I didn't use skincare. Today, things have changed in the United States at least, and I'm sure in most parts of the world. Today, a lot of men do use skincare. But 35 years ago, when I was getting involved in the industry, no one used skincare if you were a man, and if you did, you'd do so at great risk of ridicule. And so I was involved with a company that would create distribution for a skincare product, a product that I had an absolute certainty I was not going to use, and a product that I didn't take a lot of pride and joy in describing to another. I built a business in spite of the product, not because of it. Well, a few years later, when it was time to move on for a variety of reasons, I got involved with a company that sold a cholesterol reduction product. I was 32 years old. My cholesterol wasn't high. In fact, I remember that management used to be so frustrated with me because a person would ask, Randy, how do you use the product? And I said, well, I take a pinch of it and I throw it over my shoulder for luck. I didn't need to use the product. I once again built a business in spite of the product offering, not because of it, but because the pattern of activities that I'd been taught was so correct, because the product did have value for the person who wanted to lower their cholesterol, and because for a short season we had first mover advantage in creating and having a product that would lower serum cholesterol, actually improve overall cardiac risk factor, and do it without the muscle wasting caused by statin drugs. That combination of 10,000 people per day as a result of the aging of the baby boom, 10,000 people per day turning 50 years old and feeling their mortality for the first time, that turned into the biggest financial success of my life. It was more than a $25 million personal gain that I had in a decade as a result of creating distribution for a product that appealed almost exclusively to people over 50 years old, almost exclusively to men. Far more men have cholesterol problems than women, and almost exclusively to people who lived inside the United States. Now, compare that to this moment. Today, 178,000 people used AI for the first time. And one of them I met with this morning. He was 81 years old. 81 years old. Today, the same number of people used AI for the first time who were 17 years old as who are 81 years old. The same number. The same number of men used AI for the first time today as the same number of women. And I don't mean the exact same number, but I mean the percentages are so close they don't even matter. The same number of people used AI who are physically fit as those who are not. The same number of people use AI today who have PhDs as the people who just barely got out of high school or didn't make it out of high school. You see, complete, total, absolute, universal appeal. There are so many reasons that the combined possibilities we have are so much greater. And so I go through all of that dialogue because I want you all to know and understand that if you have a few labor pains in trying to give birth to your LevAI business, understand that those labor pains might be something you look back at in the future as among the greatest gifts that you ever had. I liken this to a tool. Well, a shovel is a tool. If I'm skilled at using a shovel, it won't take very long for you, a brand newcomer, to have my same skill. It doesn't take a lot of skill to use a shovel. On the other hand, what if now we go to a great big shovel, what if it's a backhoe? Now it does take skill, doesn't it? And that backhoe will not dig as good a hole as a shovel in the hands of one who does not know how to operate a backhoe. That's the truth. Give a person who does not know how to operate a backhoe a shovel, and they can get more work done than putting that same person on the seat of the backhoe. And so just because you joined LevAI, just because you're now on the seat of the backhoe, that does not mean that you're going to have greater results tomorrow until and unless you learn how to use the backhoe. But if you learn how to use the backhoe, then you can dig a hole in 5 minutes that might take you a year to dig if you're using a shovel. And that is the exact situation where we find ourselves. That is precisely where we are. And so we go back only, I think now I've been using, as each new tool has become available, I've been using the variety of LevAI tools for some 3 weeks, something like that. And my understanding, my appreciation for those tools goes up dramatically every day. Now, one thing that I do want to say, I am highly, highly enthusiastic about, again, I don't know whether you can see this or not, the monitor's small. I'm highly enthusiastic about this digital clone. Highly enthusiastic. But it is a mistake for people to be discounting the other components. If all we had was the digital twin, we would not build a great big business. Not if that's all we had. But if we had the other tools we have and did not have a digital twin, we could build a great big business. You need to understand that. Yes, the digital twin is coming. Yes, you're all going to have one by the end of the month. But on a daily basis, I'm having interactions with people who are telling me how great it's going to be, how excited they will be, and how fast they're going to grow as soon as they get the digital twin. Let me give you all a clue. No, you are not. Not unless you learn how to use the tools in total. Simply getting the digital twin, that is not going to cause your business to suddenly get easy. That's not the truth. In fact, if you get the digital twin but you've not learned how to use the other tools, you're probably going to sit around afterwards and say, well, why exactly was I so excited about that? Yeah, it's a novelty. It's cool. I can speak in 150 languages. But that won't grow your social media presence. That won't do all of the things that we do. Please, please, please share with me my enthusiasm for the digital twin. I can't wait. That's the key, folks. I can't wait, and I'm not waiting. I'm learning how to use every single component of what LevAI offers. And each day, as I've used each component, I have become so, to me, it is so obvious. There is no longer any doubt in my mind what the ultimate outcomes are going to be. This is going to be one stunning success. And it's beginning, by the way, to occur. Our daily application flow, I didn't see today, and it's Sunday, so probably not much. But this week just ended. Our application flow was about triple what it was the week before that. That's reflective of this simple thought. That is reflective of increasing numbers of people learning how to use the tools as they now exist, beginning to have immediate results, and being able to express themselves with the confidence of one who knows and understands what they're talking about and who is having positive results as a result of those interactions. So I wanted to do a little bit of drawing on my whiteboard just because that's my comfort level. Now I want to show you, I want to pretend we're having a conversation. I wish that my phone, my camera up there right now, I wish it was you. I wish it was a real person so that I can have the same conversation with you that I've been having with people. And folks, I'll say something now that might not be popular, and some of you might push me back. You might push back a little bit of what I'm going to say. We're a technology company. We're an artificial intelligence company. And one of the purposes of artificial intelligence is to limit the need for people to be together in person, to only be together in person when we must, and to allow technology to eliminate that time requirement if we must not be there, but to only use personal interactions when we must. It's become evident to me that right now I must meet individually with people. I must. Now, does that mean that you must? No, because maybe your goals aren't like mine. But if your goals are like mine, then you must meet individually with people. Why? I'm not on a daily basis talking with people who are already using AI and trying to illustrate to them the superior nature of LevAI. That's not what's happening. I bump into a periodic person who's using one feature or another feature. I've not bumped into anybody who says all those things that you're describing right now, I can do them better or more effectively with some other service and I can do it for less money. That's not what's happening. What's happening mostly is I'm meeting with people who are a combination of excited, concerned, intrigued, and afraid of artificial intelligence. It's a whole lot easier to address those situations in conversations than it is in presentations. In conversations, people tell me what they are experiencing in life and how they want AI to help. They tell me what their concerns are. And so I will simply say this. I have not had a single, not one, individual interaction with a person face-to-face that did not result in a new member. Not one. I've not had an interaction with a small group of 3 or 4 or 5 people that did not result in all 3 or 4 or 5 people embracing our concept. Literally not one. Have I had plenty of people who've been on a Zoom presentation who did not act behind the presentation? Plenty of them. Have I had plenty of people who have watched a Facebook Live and not act behind it? Plenty of them. What was the difference? They didn't get their individual question answered. It didn't become personal for them. If you want to turn this into money now, be willing to get face-to-face with people. And again, I'm not afraid to say things that are not popular so long as I believe they're true. What I just said is probably not popular with quite a few of you. It doesn't change the fact that it's absolutely true, at least as it relates to the people I've been talking with. Now, is it likely that you have a different kind of a contact base than I have? Sure. Is it possible that you'll have a different response? Sure, it's possible. But I'm not sure why that would be likely. What I think is far more likely is that if you become willing to do the things that I have been doing, I believe you will start having the results that I am having. And if you start having the results that I am having, I think your enthusiasm for this project will soar. And by the way, I want everyone to win. I want every single person to win. I want you to know there's already a fairly dramatic separation in results of people who are in LevAI. Some are growing and growing quickly, and some are not. That's the truth. Some are growing and growing quickly and having a rapid flow of new member applications, and some are not. That which is measured can be improved. I measure each one of our organizational legs. I measure them all. And the fact is that some parts of our organizational tree that were pretty big percentages of the business only 10 and 12 days ago have today lost 40 and 50% of that market share. Not because they got smaller, but because they didn't grow in the last week like other parts did. What was the difference? The parts of my business that is really growing are the parts of my business that embrace the idea that something as new as AI perhaps demands a personal conversation as opposed to a technological touch. I think of my friend Remus. Came to be with me in Las Vegas a couple of days ago, and when Remus came, he invited a candidate over, attorney, a well-placed attorney, and by the way, completely dynamic, sparkling personality, and she had registered in the pre-market. She had registered in the pre-launch period, but had not seen with clarity why she should act. Well, that changed because we got person-to-person and face-to-face. She'd already been on the Zoom with me. That didn't do the trick. What did the trick? We got together, person-to-person and face-to-face. I met with another gentleman there named Anthony. Anthony was, I think, one of the very first 3 or 4 people that I enrolled in the pre-market period. Anthony and I have been friends for years and years and years. been on multiple Zooms, and you know what? There was nothing about even one of those Zooms that caused Anthony to say, you know what, I need to act now. That changed when we got person to person and face to face. Remus came from Los Angeles to be with me, and the result of him coming from Los Angeles to be with me in Las Vegas was he said, you know what, Randy, I can see now with clarity how and why, if we get face-to-face with people, we'll start to have a much more dramatic flow of new member applications. Do I believe that this is a process that will need to continue for a long time? No, I don't. But I believe it's a process that for those who are willing to engage in the process, I believe that it will cause your income to go up far enough, fast enough, that suddenly the power of attraction, this is the truth, folks, in any home-based business arena, what you know is of some value. What you earn is of far greater value. If you know everything that I know about how to build a business like this, if you know everything that I know about LevAI and about how the comp plan works and so on and so on and so on, if you know all of those things, but you're not making any money, when somebody says, how's it working for you? Oh, it's fantastic. No. How is it working? Are you making any money? Well, no. Then you don't know enough, do you? If, on the other hand, you know 5% of what I know, but somebody says, how's it working for you? Well, you know, I've been involved for only 3 weeks, and last week I made $1,000. You know enough. See, proof of income is the lubrication that greases the wheels of all productivity, not just in this business, but in any home-based business. That is the simple truth. And so, as a result of being willing, and this is the key, folks, the key is willingness. It's not about any particular skill or knowledge. It is simply about willingness. You know, a week ago, I did a presentation not too dissimilar from this, and I made an offer. I said to all of you, invite me, and I'll come. And you know what? One person did. One did. None of you could hire me. I'm not available for hire. The person who did invite me, I didn't buy my airplane ticket, didn't pay my hotel bill. No, that was my investment in my business. One person invited me. What's that about, folks? Do you want to make more money more quickly, or do you not? Do you want to turn this into a great big financial outcome, or do you not? Why in the world, if I say I will come to you and do this with you, why were you not the first person to call me on the phone and say, Randy, my calendar is open, when shall we do it? Now, if you all right now called me and asked me to do it, then unfortunately I wouldn't be able to be at all, but I'd be at a few, I'd be at some, I'd be at as many as I can. If I were you, I'd be first on that list, because that will do more to assure your success than anything else that we can do, period. There is nothing else that would produce that outcome. And so this coming weekend, I will be with my friend Remus in Los Angeles. We'll be face-to-face with people. And as a result of being face-to-face with people, and by the way, Doug, in Southern California, I know that I owe you a call back. I've been really swamped, and I'm going to come and see you while I'm there next week as well. We'll schedule that tomorrow. Okay, so what exactly happens in these conversations that produces such a dramatically dissimilar outcome? What is it? Well, it is first the opportunity to listen. See, the problem with these presentations is it's me talking and you listening. And the result is I'm not learning a darn thing about you. I'm looking to the back of an iPhone right now. I can't see your face. I can't see if you're nodding yes. I can't see if you're raising your eyes in concern. I don't know a darn thing about what's happening right now in your head. And so therefore, I cannot begin to be as effective as I would like to be for you, because I have no idea what you're thinking right now. If I'm face-to-face with you, 6, 7, 8, 9 people, small groups, then I know exactly what each person is thinking, because I can ask them, what's going on in your head right now? And it's okay to say whatever it is, because I want to get your issues and your questions resolved. That doesn't happen on these Zooms, does it? If that starts to happen in a more broad-based fashion, we will triple our new member application flow the very first week that starts to happen. And if that proliferates for about 90 days, we will have launched a business that makes you say, oh my gosh, I had no idea that could happen in that period of time. And by the way, it does not require me. It requires anyone who is willing to simply come to understand how the tool suite works, who is willing to understand how it works, and is then comfortable in delivering that message to somebody else. Remember, what we do now is engage in a proven and predictable pattern of activities designed to create an ever-expanding and potentially limitless subscriber base, the vast majority of whom will be outsiders who have not been in the home-based business arena. Remember, the same number of people in the United States who use a cell phone, That's the number who are going to use AI 4 years from now. A lot smaller number than that will be in network marketing, one thing. So this is not about the standard network marketing audience that many of us have talked to in our career. This is about everyone you know who uses a cell phone. How many of the people that you know use a computer? They're going to use AI. Are they going to use LevAI? Only if you tell them about it. The same number of people that you know who use the internet, that's the number of people who are going to use AI. Will it be LevAI? Well, it depends. Are you going to tell them about it? If we don't tell them about it, then we can expect to lose the power of incumbency because they'll wind up being a subscriber of some of the service in the very near future. 178,000 people per day opting in. Well, that's not meant to provoke fear at all. I don't like the emotion of fear. It's meant to describe the reality and the truth and to hopefully create a sense of urgency among those of you who would like to capture a magic moment. Don't think you can call this back. You cannot. Based upon my life experience, this is a one-of-one. In my entire life, this is a one-of-one experience. And the opportunity is so ripe for you to emerge as a leader. If you joined any other direct selling company right now, you would have a difficult task moving through the already established ranks to get to the top. Any new company, brand new one, it would attract a lot of seasoned leadership from inside the industry if their idea is any good. And you, the newcomer, would have a very hard time making your way to the top. Well, here we have the uniqueness that it doesn't matter if someone spent 30 years in the industry like I have, unless that person is willing to gather some completely new knowledge that is not network marketing based, but which is AI based, then you have the opportunity to move right straight. I'm telling you, right now, I'm basically expecting that most of our top tier leadership 3 years from now will be people from outside the industry, not people who tried to bring back into LevAI concepts, principles, and behaviors that have worked before in network marketing. This is not an extension of our careers. This is the development of a new business. And whoever you are, whether you're one who's had years of success in the direct selling industry or one who never has, your ability to move to the top of this company. And by the way, moving to the top, I don't compete with anybody. If your success is greater than mine, congratulations for you. I compete only with me. What I seek is for this moment of opportunity to be one that I act upon more professionally, more effectively, with greater success as a result of all the years of knowledge. I want this to be the greatest success in your life. And if I can cause this to be the greatest success in enough people's lives, then I'm pretty sure it'll wind up being the greatest success in mine as well. So how exactly is this happening? Why is it that no days go by without Samantha and I enrolling somebody? I mean, no days. There are no days that go by without us enrolling somebody. Why? Because I will not allow a day to go by without me getting face-to-face with somebody. It's just that simple. Today, I'm going to get face-to-face with somebody. I already did today, twice before now. And so because I get face-to-face with somebody, and because I'm able to illustrate something so overwhelmingly positive, there is no such thing as a day where we do not, where Samantha, one or the others, or both of us, do not enroll at least one new person. There is no day when we do not do that. Yesterday we personally enrolled 2. So far today we personally enrolled 1. There are no days when we don't enroll somebody. Why? Because if you're willing to do this, simple as it can be, I pick up the phone, or I send a text, whatever it is, and I say, you need to spend an hour with me. It's important for your future and for ours. It's about making money. That's what I say. And I say it however many times I have to say it until somebody says, yes, let's meet. It's never more than twice. Usually that takes one call. We need to spend some time together. It's important. It's about making money. There's a degree of urgency to it. What time today can you meet me? That's what I say. And then I get face-to-face with the person. And when I get face-to-face with the person, and they say, well, Randy, what's it all about? It's about leveraging artificial intelligence. And then I send a 90-second video in advance of our discussion. That's what I do, folks. Do not make an easy task hard. Do not make an easy task hard. Every person you know, every single person you know is going to use AI. Therefore, I am not imposing myself upon them. What I'm in fact doing is helping them utilize the best iteration of AI that is available at the very best price. And then what do? I simply illustrate a couple of the components, just a couple. I don't need to go through them all. I illustrate a couple of the components. And which ones do I illustrate? One of the ones that I like is this, where it says to write a social post. And when I click on it, looks like I'm probably going to have to log back in. Let's see, because I was sitting here logged in too long. Yeah, let's go back over and do it again. I'm logged out. Take me a second. And so I simply ask my LevAI to write a social post for me. And I illustrate the 3 separate versions of a social post. And of course, now you know by now what those 3 separate versions are of that social post. One version is the instant post. I illustrate that. Do it for you right now. And I'm going to have the same dialogue with you that I have with them. And with this thing to get, there we go. And so we'll start right over here. And I'm simply going to write this, craft a personal social post. And so I click on craft a personal social post, and as you know, here's where it goes. And I have this simple dialogue. Let's assume you know what your name is, Tom. So Tom, a couple of weeks ago I got involved with a company called LevAI, and this is about leveraging artificial intelligence. And one of the things that I've learned, create your own script, right? I am a highly scripted person. Why does this sound, it doesn't sound like a script, does it? Why? It is because I craft the script, and while most people don't know it, I practice it and practice it and practice it and practice it. How do I practice it? At night, after I've done everything else, I'm lying down and I'm going to sleep, and over and over and over in my head as I'm going to sleep, I am articulating my message. I've been intrigued with artificial intelligence for a period of time, but confused by it. A couple of weeks back, I got involved with a company called LevAI. It's about leveraging artificial intelligence, and in a matter of a few short weeks, it's dramatically changed my productivity, and I think it can change yours. That's what I say when I sit down. So let me illustrate. Since the single most important thing that we can do to grow our future influence is to grow our social media presence, I've had to realize that I've done a poor job of doing that personally. Now, this is the truth of me. Since I'm talking to a phone, I can't have interaction with you. That's why we have to get face-to-face. Because then I say, just tell me this, without even opening your Facebook right now, tell me how many Facebook friends do you have? And there will be a small percentage of the people. In fact, I've not had anybody that I've interacted with in this capacity in the last couple of weeks. I've not had anybody say, well, I've blown out of my 5,000 and I've got a certain number of followers. Nobody has said that to me. What I've heard are things like, well, in fact, I think the biggest number I've heard, these are just normal everyday people I'm out there talking to. I think the biggest number I've heard is 1,200. And I would say that the average is probably more like 500 or 600. I've got 500 or 600 Facebook friends. And I say, well, I've got really bad news for you. If you have 500 Facebook friends, then that implies to me that you don't have a great deal of influence. One of the ways to measure influence is to measure social media presence. And so a person who has 1 million social media followers or friends or contacts, they have a tremendous amount of influence. And as a result of all that influence, people will come to them. They have 1 million contacts on social media. They will constantly have people coming to them saying, I've got this opportunity, I've got that opportunity. Opportunity will seek out the one who has a broad social media presence. If you have 500 social media fans, if you got 500 friends on Facebook, I'm sorry, that is reflective of very little influence. One who has very little influence must look for opportunity. One who has broad influence will have opportunity looking for them. And so, in my own case, I consider the work that I have done, the results of the work that I have done in the last 35 years in terms of social media presence is absolutely horrible. I joined Facebook in 2008, and sure, I've got my 5,000 Facebook friends, and I think I have 14,000 followers, and I have 5,000 or 6,000 contacts on my business page, and I have a certain number of followers on LinkedIn. I forget the number, but if we add all of my social media, all of it together, it comes to about 150,000 total contacts. There are other people who've been more wise than I, whose lives and careers have not been bigger than mine. They've not been more successful than mine, but they have 10 times those many social media followers, social media contacts. They have more influence than me. That means if I were on the outside looking in, I would say the one who has greater influence is going to have a superior next 5 years economically than the one who has less influence. So anything that we can do to grow your influence, if you have 500, and not an unusual thing, by the way, people that I've talked with over the last week, 2 weeks, 300 Facebook friends, 700, 500, the biggest one, 1,200. If we can start a process today that dramatically changes your social media presence in the next 5 years, would that be a good thing, do you think? Yes. And if we could do that at a very, very marginal cost and almost no time invested, would that be a smart thing? Well, yeah, that'd be a smart thing. Well, let me show you. if I simply do an instant post. And how did this happen? I trained LevAI. I told it a few things about me. It took me about 10 minutes, and I wrote a little bit. Now imagine I'm getting up in the morning and I'm rushing off to the airport, I'm going to the office, I'm doing whatever I do, and all I do is I just click surprise me, and here is something that LevAI is suggesting that I start my day with. Randy, post this. And maybe sometime during the day, this will produce a like, a comment. It'll give you a chance to hit the ball back across the net tonight when you come home. And so it said, embracing a strong work ethic is my cornerstone. Shaped by the challenges faced in my rural Idaho upbringing, how do you push through your obstacles? Let's share our stories on resilience and growth, because those lessons, in their simplicity, often have the power to guide us forward. Now, here I am some 3 weeks into this, and I can absolutely understand why my social media presence is not what it should be, because I don't ask those questions. I don't invite that next input. And I've never even known what I should be hashtagging. And now suddenly, what's LevAI doing for me? Well, it's hashtagging resilience, work ethic, and growth journey. As a result of those hashtags, which I never would have done, that's getting different eyes. And the simple request, let's push through the challenges, let's share our stories. There will be some who don't see a darn thing, but there will be some who will respond who would not have responded had I written the post myself. And by the way, I wouldn't have written anything. I wouldn't have got up in the morning and just automatically posted something. Now I can see that was in error. It would likewise be an error if I put 20 such posts up a day. But what, every morning? That is not an error. And how much of my time did that take? It took basically none. Just took basically none. And so, to anyone, if you're Tom and we're meeting for the first time, I say, so Tom, do you see anything objectionable about doing this? And if he says anything objectionable, then I would respond this way. You know, I kind of felt that same way, because when I read that, it didn't sound like me. I wouldn't have written that. And pride and ego, at the very outset, had me correcting it. And then I said, Randy, stop yourself. What you do has resulted in 16% of what you want. I want you all to know, write it down, say you heard it here first, check with me as we go along. My objective is to have 1 million social media fans 12 months from now, because I've finally learned a process that makes that possible. I didn't even know the process that could make that possible. Now 1 million, wow, that's a big difference from 150,000, isn't it? Will it be reached? I don't know. Is it more likely to reach because now it's an identifiable target and I've got a process designed to create that outcome? Is it logical to think that my social media presence will be greater than it would have been had I not done this? Yes. And is that worth $100 a month? Yes. You see, the simple key is to find only one component that is worth what the total subscription price is, and this one component, I promise you, for all of you, is worth more than the total subscription price is. And for those who are waiting and waiting and waiting for the digital avatar to come along, that digital avatar is not going to do a darn thing to grow your social media presence. It'll do other things, but it will not meet this need. And so, there's an example. And remember, at the very start, I got this and I started changing it. No, Randy, stop yourself. You don't want it to sound like you. What you do has resulted in fewer than 15% of the number of social media followers that you want. Other people who have 1 million followers, they didn't have a bigger career than yours. Get out of the way. Let LevAI do what it does. And so that's the simple instant post. Now you'll notice that I can do business posts or I can do personal posts. And there's so much strategy and so much logic, so many things here that I can accomplish utilizing LevAI that I was not accomplishing, that I could not do prior to LevAI. I didn't have the background knowledge to understand. When it says here, select a business or product, here in a moment, I'm going to click that drop-down menu and it will show you several profiles. Some of these are profiles that I use. Others are profiles that I created to teach another. So for example, there's a couple of companies listed on my profiles that I am not a part of and that I don't want to be a part of. But the people I was meeting with were asking me this question, Randy, can I use LevAI to grow this business? I don't want to be in the business of artificial intelligence like you are, Randy. I want to use artificial intelligence to grow the business that I am in. And so there are examples of that. One of them is a direct selling company. The others are not direct selling companies. And so here we see new home finders. Well, that's not my business. I'm not in real estate. Here we see Talk Fusion. I am not involved in any way, shape, or form with Talk Fusion. Now, Randy Schrader, well, that's me. Anthony Washington, Mortgage Services. Well, pretty clearly that's not me, is it? That's not my business. McCoy Masonry. So these were all things. These I illustrated for the owner of New Home Finders, how we could attract move-up buyers, because that was his interest. Randy, how can I use this service to attract move-up buyers? And so what did we do? Utilizing LevAI, we created a website for him, and what it wrote was absolutely beautiful. We created a strategy for utilizing LevAI to reach out to those people who have recently listed their homes, and on and on and on. There's a lot of filters and screens that go into it. And we created a strategy for him. And then I asked a simple question: do you suppose this would be worth $100 a month? And his response was, I provoked the response, so let me take that back. He didn't respond. The name is Stuart. And I said, Stuart, if you were able to get one more buy-side transaction in this coming year, if you got one more buy-side transaction, he's a realtor, you would receive on that buy side 3%, right? 6% gross real estate commission. You would receive on the buy side 3%. And so if this would cost you $1,200 to use for a year, then what is the size listing you would need to get? If you got one listing that would pay, what would it be? Well, it's $40,000, 3% of $40,000. So if this gentleman, who last year did over $500 million in sales transactions, if he got one added listing of $40,000, that would pay the total annual subscription. And then I said, Stuart, based on what we've just done, do you suppose this would gain at least one new listing? He said, well, of course. And do you get listings for $40,000? No. What's the smallest listing you ever get? $500,000. And so you see, it's 10 times that amount. All we have to do is illustrate to the next person how LevAI makes the money instead of tossing the money. And by the way, this whole dialogue, if in the next year you got one more, and I told him what I'll tell all of you, if you're going to try this for a month, save us both the aggravation. Don't do that. Decide to let the tool work for you for a year. Measure the inputs, measure the behaviors, but don't measure the results for 12 months. We agreed upon that. Well, a person involved, yesterday I met with him 2 days ago, another person involved with a company called Talk Fusion. I am not. But he wanted to know, Randy, can I use this to grow this business? Yes. And so we showed him social media posts, we showed him websites, all the same thing. Anthony Washington, Mortgage Services, you can see where it's going. McCoy Mason, now this next one, Sobriety Rocks. Why do you suppose I would have a profile called Sobriety Rocks? Because I have a great desire to attract people from all walks of life. Part of my life's experience is that for many years I had a major alcohol and drug problem. Thank God I've been alcohol and drug free for a long time, and I stay actively involved in a program of recovery. But what I've discovered is that people who are solidly rooted in the 12 steps of recovery are really, really good people. And it's not unusual for a person, once they initially gain sobriety, to have a little bit of a hangover from the past. Sometimes opportunities are not readily available to them. Sometimes some time needs to go by before job offers come again, before people want to be their business partners. Sometimes they need a bridge to get from where they are to where they need to be, and time takes time. Not unusual for a person to need to be clean and sober for 3 years, 4 years, 5 before the doors of opportunity start opening again. And so when I post in the persona of Sobriety Rocks, now I'm sharing my experience in recovery, but in so doing, I'm gaining relationships with people who shared that experience, and I know what they're going through, and I can help them. Well, that is something that I feel good about. I can help them, and as a result of helping them, I also have a financial outcome. But notice I put the financial outcome behind the I am helping them. We come down to just being a dad. Well, who's going to respond to just being a dad? As you folks know, if you don't know, I'm 68 years old, and I have an 8-year-old little boy. Just think about this thing logically for a minute. If I follow the course, just the natural course, who will be my circle of influence? Who is my natural circle of influence? Well, it's 68-year-old white guys that have some money. That's a really small segment of society, isn't it? That's a really small segment of society. And let's be logical. I have an 8-year-old little boy. I am not going to be here to assure that when he's ready to buy his first home, that I have the resources to help him with his down payment, am I? I'm not going to be here for that in all likelihood. I'm not going to be here when his first child is ready to go to school. And I desperately want to be able to fund that education. It's just the truth. There are very, very important things that I'm not going to be here for. And so what must I do? I must create a cash flow that will survive long after I do not. Therefore, if all of the people I enroll are 68 years old or older, then that's not going to accomplish that, is it? What I need to do is enroll a bunch of people who are not just 10, but 15, 20, or even 40 years younger than I. That makes me very excited about the idea that AI is as appealing to that crowd as it is to my natural circle of influence. And so you see, one of the things that I love about this is it allows me not just to enroll people who need my business. See, the people in Sobriety Rocks, the people that I attract from there, they need my business, and I'm doing something to help them. They need it. On the other hand, there are some people my business needs. My business needs people that are 40 years younger than me. LevAI lets me reach them. In my persona of just being a dad, that attracts people who have young children. People who respond to just being a dad commentary, they don't have adult children who have grown up and moved out. No, it's young children. You see, I get to not just enroll people that need my business, and I'm so happy to do that, but I likewise get to enroll people who my business needs as a result of creating various profiles that attract a different audience. And then leadership personified. People who know me, generally speaking, I would say probably know me as a network marketing leader. If you know me as a network marketing leader, and you are, for example, involved in another company, let's say you're involved in Herbalife, and you know me as a network marketing leader, I promise you, you don't want your team to listen to me. They might get swept away. They might. Oh my gosh, that guy knows what he's talking about. I want to go where he's going. That's entirely possible. Maybe not, but maybe so. So interestingly enough, if I want to attract people to my business who are already involved in network marketing, then I need to not be talking about network marketing. Because if I am, then I am a threat to them. When I post under the persona of leadership personified, it's totally different. Because every business owner wants to develop his or her leadership skills, and all business owners want people under their employ or in their organizations to likewise develop leadership skills. And so suddenly, by not saying exactly who I'm looking for, I have a better chance of finding the person I'm looking for. You see, there's a lot to this, folks. And ask yourself this question: how else, in the absence of LevAI, how else would you propose to accomplish the things that I'm accomplishing to you, that I'm describing to you right now? If you know some way, please let me know, because I'd like to know, and I'd like to do it with you. And then finally we come down here to LevAI. And so in this case, now, I already showed you the instant post and how simple that is. Now, this, I think, has probably been, at the end of this little illustration right here, the decision by and large has been made to get involved. That's the truth. The decision by and large has been made to get involved. I simply come down here and I click on a long post. And when I click on the long post, now I've already selected my profile. What is my business or product? I have determined that I'm going to do a longer post, and I'm going to do it under LevAI. And so I'm going to select my objective. Well, what's my objective? Perhaps I want to inspire, entertain, educate, or promote. I'm going to promote. I could do it in English, or I can do it in any other language. Literally any other language. Now, some of you who are watching what I do, you may have noticed that I periodically post things in Hebrew. I'm not Jewish, I'm not Israeli. I post things in Japanese, and I post things in Spanish, and I post things in Chinese. Why do I do that? Well, if you make a social media post in a language that is not your language, that will capture eyes that would not otherwise be captured. It's truth. I write a post in Hebrew, and I get 3 times as many likes or comments, even though I know that none of the people who liked and comment can speak Hebrew. Because they said, Randy, what was that about? How did you do it? You see, it's all simply about gaining conversation. That's what it is. How did you do that? That was cool. Why did you do it? That leads me then to the next opportunity to have LevAI respond to the post, and I am learning with every single interaction what is likely to get the most engagement. I can see and understand now why it is that after one of the biggest careers in my industry, that I have a pathetic little social media following. And I can see today how what I've done for just the last couple of weeks, multiplied over the course of 2 or 3 years, can turn into a dramatically different amount of influence measured by a dramatically different social media profile. I'm spending all of this time talking about just one of the components. And so now I come down here. What do you want the post to be about? And so, the global adoption of AI is underway. Well, sorry, my keyboard screwed up. Will you benefit or, hold on here, oh, come on, or might you be victimized? Okay. And so, all one has to do is be able to come up with a sentence, a concept, a thought. The global adoption of AI is underway. Will you benefit, or might you be victimized? Now, I think that a whole lot of people, lots and lots and lots of people, could come up with a sentence or two like I just did. I think that the vast majority of people could come up with a sentence or two, or a question or two. I think of all of the many, many, many people who have been involved in my various organizations over the years, I would say the vast majority of them could write that sentence or two, almost all. But I would also say that very, very few of them would then be able in the next few moments to write this. As the march of artificial intelligence continues to sweep across industries and continents, one question looms large. Will you harness its potential or fall victim to its tide? At LevAI, we're committed to ensuring that the transformative power of AI is within everyone's reach. Our mission is to make AI not just accessible, but indispensable for everyday business use. In today's digital age, where innovation is both a catalyst and a disruptor, it is crucial to be informed and prepared for the sweeping changes AI is set to bring. Join us as we explore how AI can be your ally rather than your adversary. And then it goes on. And folks, I have become so incredibly impressed. Every post that I write, every question that I ask, every response that I make, every email that I make, LevAI gets to know me better and better. Now, when LevAI writes, what LevAI writes does sound like me, but LevAI continues to make the statements that I don't know how to make, which gathers the next like with all of the hashtagging and so on. It is, to me, if all we had was this one component, if we had nothing else. What this does is grant to anyone, literally anyone, the opportunity to become profitable in advance of gathering knowledge or developing skills or refining character. What I've taught people over my entire career is that in the first year, the compensation will be primarily measured not, I'm going to do one more thing here. We're going to come back to that thought in a second, but I'm writing this just to give you an illustration. I'm going to come back around here. I just wrote something here to make an illustration. Beneath that text, what I wrote was, you can make millions fast. Now I'm going to ask it to make this post. We know that that's a completely irresponsible statement to make. That's a non-compliant statement to make. That is something that we should not say. This will now write the post again, and it's writing the post with that new caveat. You can make millions fast. So it describes, and I'm not going to read it all right now, but somewhere in here it will have illustrated, it will have talked about this idea of making a bunch of money fast. And so now you'll notice what I just did was I just clicked on where it said compliance check. Early, when I first began looking at AI, I had a concern that it would actually stymie leadership development because people would become dependent upon it. Because of my past experience with alcoholism and drug addiction, I abhor the thought of being dependent upon anything. I, however, am grateful to be reliant upon something to keep me on the path I want to be on. And so you see here, a compliance check, very high risk, areas for improvement. You see, I don't believe that this stymies leadership development. I think it accelerates it, because here it's teaching me what should I not say and not do. And then it comes over here and it says I can accept the risk and continue, please never do. Instead, update the post. And now it will create a post that is no longer going to put me at risk. Wow, that's a whole lot better, isn't it? There's so much to this. So once again, go back to my thought that I interrupted. I have taught people for years that primarily what they will earn in the first year will be new knowledge they will gain, as opposed to making much money. They'll have to gain the knowledge first. Knowledge is important, but knowledge doesn't make money. It is skill. If we gather knowledge and we develop skill, now we're getting closer. But what if we gather knowledge, develop skill, and we still are just an objectionable personality? We don't behave correctly. People get it all wrong. They tend to focus on gathering knowledge and developing skills first. What they should be focused on is becoming the individual that others would seek to be in association with. If character refinement becomes our primary task, then others would seek to be in association with us, and it'll be relatively easy. Well, so what is the point of all that? What I've told people forever is that you're not going to make much money at the outset. You're going to have to learn these things. What this concept does is grant to anybody the legitimate possibility to become profitable in advance of gathering new knowledge, in advance of developing new skills or refining character. It makes you look better than you are. Now, please join me in this idea. Let me become as good as I look. Use the short-term crutch, and that is what AI is. It is a crutch. And it can either be a short-term or a long-term crutch. If I'm using AI, LevAI specifically, to overcome a temporary disability, then that means that I learned something new. So for example, I have a temporary disability in not really knowing and understanding what I should be hashtagging in order to get the number of likes that I want. That's a temporary disability because every time I use the system, it is teaching me what to hashtag. And so someday, one day, if I didn't have access to this, I would still know what to do. A more permanent disability. I don't know how to speak Chinese, and I don't think I'm going to know how to speak Chinese during this life. And so that's a permanent disability. So I can then use LevAI to overcome a permanent disability by changing the language. And so now I can come right over here. If I don't know how to speak any language, there's simplified Mandarin. And so now I can recreate. You see, I have a permanent disability as it relates to Mandarin, but I can overcome that disability by utilizing LevAI. Folks, this is monumental. Now here is where the digital avatar will help me. The digital avatar will not help me develop a social media presence, but what the digital avatar will do for me is, in addition to me simply posting this and my candidate in China reading in Mandarin or reading the characters in simplified Chinese, but then the digital avatar will speak it. So when I said that I don't want you to have any thought that I don't share all of your enthusiasm for the avatar, I do. I simply have greater enthusiasm than I see others expressing in terms of the overall process. The avatar by itself will not create the outcome that I want. And in fact, if there was one component that I could alleviate, that I could leave out and still get the outcomes that I want, it would be the avatar. That's the icing on the cake. It is not the cake. I need you all to know and understand that. It is not the cake. That is the icing on the cake. Okay, we've already been here for 1 hour and 14 minutes, and I have illustrated for you only a part. When I'm having a conversation with a person, then as opposed to me having to pick the piece that I want to illustrate, then I get a chance to ask that person, what do they need? See, it changes it all. When I meet with you or I'm having an individual conversation, tell me what is the primary issue that you face in your business. What is the primary area of improvement? And I can then now, only 3 weeks in, almost no matter what the problem is, I can find a solution in LevAI. It is simply the most remarkable thing that I have ever bumped into. Now, I know that there were some people who were hopping on this session this evening because they wanted to gather some information about the compensation plan. And even though we've been here for a long time, I am going to do a very short compensation plan discussion because I want you all to get what you came here to get, no matter what it was that you came to get. And so, let me describe to you these couple of thoughts. This compensation plan is, without question, the easiest thing to describe and to activate or qualify for that I've ever seen in our business. That's the truth. Now, if you're saying, well, Randy, it's not easy for me. Well, if it's not easy for you, it is probably not so much about the comp plan as it is about knowing and understanding the product offering. If you don't understand the product offering, everybody wants it. And then the compensation plan self-activates. But very quickly, how does the comp plan work? Well, the first thing we do is we get paid what is called an acquisition bonus. Now, let's describe this in the overall context of our business, not just in the context of a compensation plan. So there are three foundation pieces that must be put in place for the development of any large, successful sales or leadership organization. And the first foundation piece which must be put in place is a rapid flow of new member applications. Minus a rapid flow of new member applications, nothing else can occur. That's what it comes down to. And by the way, far be it from me to establish your targets, but I do ask you to establish a target. If there is no target, how do we expect to hit it? That, to me, it defies all logic. And so I have a daily target. My daily target is that there will be no 24-hour period that goes by where I do not enroll somebody. That is my daily target. And I know, based upon my experience thus far, that I have a 100% chance of hitting that target if I make one appointment to get face-to-face with one person. That's the truth. I can have an absolute certainty, a guarantee, that I will meet my target of one person enrollment every day if I simply make one appointment and get face-to-face with one person every day and show them what the realities are of LevAI. And when I do that, so far in my own case, more than 90% of the people who have enrolled with us, and Samantha and I have personally enrolled 140 or 145 people or something like that so far, all of those, and by the way, they did not all activated. That's not the truth. They have not all activated. About, I don't know what the number is, somewhere just short of half have actually activated. And of those who have activated, more than 90% have chosen the professional pack. And so that means that when I hit my target of having a new person enroll on a daily basis, then that means we get an acquisition bonus of $50. Because they enroll, they spend $100, and I know it's 99 and one half of 99, but to make the math easy, I get an acquisition bonus of $50. That's what happens. And so, and folks, though I've had a career that is a storied career, it's a talked about career in the network marketing industry, I still break it all the way down to this. I'm going to make $50 tomorrow because I'm going to enroll somebody tomorrow. It's just that simple. I am not going to allow the next 24 hours to go by without enrolling somebody. I did not allow this 24 hours to go by without enrolling somebody. I didn't allow the 24 before that to go by. I will not allow a 24-hour period to go by without enrolling somebody. How can I assure that will happen? And by the way, I don't always have to get face-to-face with somebody. The reason that I make a post before I go to bed at night is because most mornings I wake up and someone enrolled as a result of the simple post. But if that didn't happen, I am not going to allow the day to go by without getting face-to-face with somebody and doing one-person enrollment. That will create an acquisition bonus of 50%. When that happens, then don't think of a pyramid. It is not a pyramid. That's baloney. Think instead of a block. It is a box. It is a box of volume. And whenever you personally enroll a new member, so I talked about my friend Anthony Washington that I met a couple of days ago in Las Vegas. So Anthony, I personally enrolled. Anthony acquires a $100 pack, and Randy gets paid $20. That's what happens. Sorry, $50 on the ongoing basis. You get paid $50 with the acquisition bonus, and then on an ongoing basis, when Anthony pays his subscription, okay, he spent $100. That was a first month use of the service, and then there's an ongoing monthly subscription. So when he made the first purchase, you get a $50 acquisition bonus. On an ongoing monthly basis, every month that he pays his subscription, I get paid $20. And you say, well, how many months will he pay his subscription? Remember, AI is not an option. AI is a mandate. How many months do you pay your phone bill? That's how many months in the future you'll pay your AI bill. How many months in a year do you pay your internet bill? That's how many months you will pay your AI bill. Kind of starting now. That's the way that it is. It's not something we can avoid. We can't opt out. We can't choose not to. Not the truth. We must, or we'll be left behind by society and by business. And so, anyone that you personally enroll, you get paid 20%, and there is no limit to how many of those you can enroll. There's simply no limitation. And this is another of the reasons I talk to folks, I tell them, please do not consider this to be an extension of your network marketing career if you've been in network marketing. If you've been in network marketing, your business has been all about recruiting business builders. It's not been about attracting and retaining customers. Why? Because only business builders would pay the outsized price for a product that had been priced to fund the compensation plan. So none of us had customers. This is, again, my targets. I tell you my targets. I like public targets because public targets are far more likely to be hit if I have a private target held inside. I'm not telling you about it. I will not hold myself to the same level of accountability that you will. Here's my target, folks. I will have 1,000 or more personally enrolled users of this product, customers. Before 12 months from now go by, I will have 1,000 of those. I will. How? Because I will meet face to face with a number of people to assure that will happen. And as more income begins to be developed, as the groundswell continues, there'll be more and more people who look for me that I don't have to look for. My career experience has taught me that very plainly. Well, my objective is very simple, folks. I'm going to have 1,000 personally enrolled people on my first generation, 1,000 of them. That's 20 grand a month on Gen 1. Now, if we have 5 legs, okay, that means we've enrolled 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And we'll be being paid 20% on the first month subscription to all those 5. Then we have an ongoing opportunity to get paid on generation 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. If you are the personal enroller, you get paid 20%. If one of those that you enrolled this next one, you were not the enroller, then you'll get paid 4%. Now, for those who have been around the direct selling industry, remember that there is no artificial dilution from BV to PV to cash. No, $1 in, $1 goes to the comp plan. So this is 20% of cash. $100 subscription, $20. A $100 subscription, $4. And so you say, well, gosh, Randy, $4, that's not a lot. Folks, what if you were getting paid $4? Just go outside and look around the neighborhood you live in. What if you were getting paid $4 a month for everybody's phone bill? For a 5-mile radius, that's all. Not the whole world. What if on a 5-mile radius you were getting paid $5 a month for everybody's phone bill, and you were getting paid $4 a month? What if you're getting paid $4 a month for everybody's internet bill? What if you're getting paid $4 a month for everyone's pest control bill? What if that was happening? Would that then become meaningful? Break it out of the realm of contemplating and considering that this is like anything you've done before in network marketing. This is not about the few, this is about the many. This is about everybody who is required. It is a global mandate to adopt AI. Okay, so now, for those of you who've been accustomed to building teams, you get paid 20% on Gen 1. To get paid through this entire 8-generation block, you'll need to have 5 separate legs, and to get paid at the top of the comp plan, each of these 5 legs will have to do $20,000 in monthly business. That would put you at the top of the plan and make you eligible to get paid 4% through the next 7 generations. Then, you know what I know. And by the way, do you suppose this block of volume would become a more interesting block of volume if instead of contemplating what must everyone do to qualify to get paid 8 levels deep, what if instead you said, you know what, that Randy guy, he might be onto something. We should not just be talking about the handful of people that would be at the head of 5 legs. What if we taught our entire organization that everybody they know is going to use AI, and that if they're the introductory factor, they'll get paid an ongoing subscription? What if you were getting paid a couple of bucks a month for the 5-mile radius around you? What if you're getting paid a couple of bucks a month for every Netflix subscription? What if you're getting paid a few dollars a month for, as I said before, their telephone and so on? See, change your field of vision. Change the way you perceive this. This is everything that network marketing ever was, but it's so much more than it ever could be. Because for the first time, we're not delivering a product that is designed to meet the need of a comp plan. For the first time, we're not building up a momentum cycle that runs for a year, 2 years, 3 or 4. No, we're building a business that can create a subscription value that is sticky, that has near permanence. We're creating a legitimate opportunity to work for a season and get paid for decades. That is what our possibility is. And that is why, whether it's convenient or inconvenient, whether $50 might seem so insignificant, that is why I will not allow a day to go by without enrolling somebody. That's why. It's because I can see with clarity the difference in what we're doing today versus anything I've done before in my life. Now, in any project, leadership will always be scarce. And so you see I erased this bottom border of the block of volume. Why? And first of all, folks, remember again, what if every one of these doesn't just have 5 wide? What if we all just decided you haven't really met your measure, you've not fulfilled the required task until you have 100, not 1,000, just 100. You've not fulfilled your task until you have 100 personally enrolled subscribers, Generation 1. That's when you've met your mark. That's when you've filled your task. What if you built out a block of volume where everybody had 100 customers wide? You see, this will produce a larger income than anything you've ever dreamed of in the direct selling industry, because you're no longer limited to that tiny percentage of people who are qualifying in the compensation plan to earn significant income on outsized product prices. That's the truth. This is a complete, total paradigm shift. You qualify at the top of the plan, that makes you eligible to erase the bottom. Now you get paid in infinity until such time as you have interacted with somebody else who likewise qualifies at the top of the plan. And of critical importance to me, we earn check match. And it's not just check match on team commissions. If someone in your first 4 generations of enrollment tree earns an acquisition bonus, you get a matching bonus. If someone in 8 generations of unilevel earns a team commission, you get a matching bonus. If someone earns an infinity payout, you get a matching bonus. And it's a matching bonus predicated not just on that 3 or 4 or 5%. It is a matching bonus. Now imagine for a minute. Can you just imagine for a minute that instead of building a business based on just these 5 legs, what if everybody had real customer bases? I mean real customer bases, like you'd have to have in any other business. If everybody had real customer bases, suddenly you could hold so much more volume in that block of payout than anything you ever dreamed of. That how high is up is no longer high. How big is no longer big. Literally all of the barriers have been removed. Easiest comp plan to describe and to qualify for that I've ever seen. Acquisition bonus, unilevel, 8 generations, infinity payout, matching bonus. Easy to understand, easy to qualify for, easy to earn. If you behave in the ways that have been proven to work for decades, a proved and predictable pattern of activities that is tied to a daily mechanism of operation called ladder of escalation, which creates an ever-expanding and potentially limitless web of consumers of a service which is a global mandate in which they cannot acquire somewhere else for less money. This is bigger than you yet realize. There are none of you watching this now who I believe can have quantified what the possibilities are. This is 10 times bigger than my biggest opportunity in my life up until right now. Folks, if you want this to become a meaningful part of your financial future, then come to realize and understand that a rapid flow of new member applications, this is task 1. As we set in motion the pattern of activities that result in a rapid flow of new member applications, then we can begin constructing the other parts of the tower on top of that first foundation piece. I respect you, honor you, and applaud you, irrespective of how you want to behave. But people turn to me for leadership. They want to be told, what do I need to do, Randy, to make this really work for me? Let me tell you what we must do. Make a decision to open the funnel wide, become a prolific enroller, and realize that your job is not done. In fact, I don't believe you've started your job until you've personally enrolled 100. Wow, Randy, that's different than anyone's told me before. I want you to have a different outcome than anyone's had before in this business. and I want you to have a different outcome than you ever had before. Folks, it's 8:30, it's Sunday night. I've got a little boy wanting my attention, and I want to go give it to him. I want you to know I appreciate you, I respect you, I admire you, and I want to help you win. I happen to be in Tampa, Florida for a couple more days at the Clearwater area. If you've got a candidate here you'd like me to meet with, I'd like to meet with them. And I'm going to be in Southern California next weekend. I'd like nothing more than to meet with your candidate. And I know that's saying Southern California, wow, that's a lot of places that I could be. We'll refine that over the course of the next day or two. Please, 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 pay very close attention to every single corporate announcement. Pay very close attention to this coming Wednesday's announcement. If you're not yet a part of the WhatsApp groups, join them. If you've not yet joined the Facebook group, LevAI Leadership, join it. And if you are not yet knowledgeable of the 10 steps to getting started correctly, watch for those to be added into the onboarding process, and let it be that you become one of those who knows those 10 steps this way. Those of you who are moms, it'd be the same with dads, but if you're a mom or if you're a grandmother, I want you to think back to when you had a child that would fit in this outfit. Just think back to that. And then imagine that you're at a birthday party with a whole bunch of these little ones. And these little ones are outside. And they're from 9 months to 3 years old. And there's 30 of them out there, and they're playing, and they're having a good time. And there's the cacophony and the noise. And then suddenly, your little one cries out in pain or fear. Would you recognize that voice? Even though there's 30 kids out there? Every mother would. Everyone would. That is the way that you must know and understand the 10 steps to getting started correctly. The way you know your child's laugh, his or her cry. The way that you know the feel, the texture of their skin. You see, I think that I can blindfold a mom, and I could hold 10 babies up to her in a row and let her smell them, let her feel their skin, and she'd know which one was hers. See, that is the way, and it's not about me, but that's the way that I know the 10 steps. It is. I know it like whatever you know the very, very best. That's the way that I understand the ladder of escalation. And I promise you that 6 more months will not go by before I know and understand LevAI that way. That is what has provoked my success over the years. Become a voice of authority in areas of doubt. You become a voice of authority in areas of doubt, and the world will beat a path to your door because they seek the clarity that you can provide. Thanks for your patience with me all this day. I apologize again for our technical glitches this morning. Hopefully this worked out tonight. I'm on your side, folks. I'm on your side. I want to help you win. Have the best night yet. See you on the way.